Welcome back everybody. You saw in a few episodes ago, I put the trolling motor on this kayak. Well, we've got a new toy now, so come and check that out. It's really quick and easy to put on. It bolts onto pretty much any stand-up paddleboard or kayak, and it is tons of fun. So come along as we show you how. So this is the Edge Smart Drive K4 stand-up paddleboard and kayak motor. It is fully remote controlled, has a 400 watt brushless motor providing 20 pounds of thrust, and has a claimed top speed of around 10 kilometers an hour. Now we've been averaging around 8 kilometers an hour in all our testing. However, that's still really good for what is a fun, practical solution to powering your stand-up paddleboard. And now we've got all the warm summer months coming in, we're going to get a lot of use out of this. However, let's duck into the shed and I'll show you what it's all about. So this is essentially the K4 combo that Edge Smart Drive has sent out to me. I'll be fully transparent, they did send it to me, and what they've sent is the K4 B2 combo. So it's the K4 kit that you get pretty much with all your orders, and then you can option it up with all the different batteries. So they have a B1, a B2, a B4 and a B8. So the B2 is a second one along, and it's around about, if you want to convert it around, the 190 watt hours converts to approximately between 15 and 16 amp hours in 12 volts. However, you will note on these that these are a 22.2 volt battery. So they're a higher battery than a standard 12 volt lithium that you might be using, say what we do with our 40 pound trolling motor that I trialed a few months ago in our kayak using the 60 amp hour 12 volt battery that came from King. So it's a little bit different, but the motor itself is actually quite good. It's equivalent to around about a 20 pound thrust motor, and it's got two modes. So it's got an eco mode where this will run at 100 watts, and then it's got a fast mode where it will run at full power up to 400 watts. So it's quite good, and you can get speeds of up to around about 10 kilometers an hour. Now that's going to be dependent on what you're putting this onto, but I'm really keen to try it out on a stand-up paddleboard, given that's probably the lightest thing you'll be putting it on, to see what kind of speeds you can get. Noting our kayak, we sort of average around about 5 kilometers an hour. And in eco mode, they do say with this motor, you'll be doing that using this particular motor on, I'm assuming, a stand-up paddleboard. But for now, I'll go through the kit that you get from Edge Smart Drive themselves. Now, it's pretty comprehensive, and essentially, apart from a tiny little bit of assembly, it's plug and play. I've already had a bit of a fiddle around with it, but I'm really keen to get it in the water and see exactly what it can do. So you get this, which I think is absolutely fantastic, waterproof remote control. Now, this means you can control it all from your hand while you're cruising along, while you're fishing, anything like that. It's one-handed control. There's no cables, anything like that. And this is pretty incredible in what it can do. So you've got your on and off switch on this side here. It also has cruise control. So you can set up the speed that you want. So you can just troll along if you want to. You've obviously got your rudder control, but you can adjust and realign and tune that rudder. Say if it's slightly off, you can actually tune it all back in. Now this screen is a full GPS screen. So it'll give you live speeds that you're doing, all that sort of thing. I think you can track a little bit, but it's pretty cool in what you can do, and it's obviously fully waterproof. So if you happen to fall off your stand-up paddleboard, which I'm not the most coordinated person in the world, it's actually a pretty good thing. All of this is waterproof. The battery itself is IP68 rated, which is one thing I was worried about. Obviously, if you do flip over on a stand-up paddleboard, you want to make sure that all of this is going to be protected, especially the expensive components such as the battery, which you do typically mount on top of the board. And obviously the motor is going to be fine because it's sitting down under the water. Now, I don't do unboxing videos, but I will note that all the packaging is really, really neat. You get a simple instruction manual that runs you through all the different settings, how you can calibrate it if you need to trim your rudders, so you're going nice and straight depending on what you're mounting it onto. It pretty much clips onto any of your stand-up paddleboard mounts where you clip your fin in. So it's a fairly universal mount onto anything that you've got that has those universal fins that go into them. And then it's got this cable that wraps around, and the plug on the end simply plugs into your battery. You don't actually need to do anything to calibrate this out of the box from what I can work out. Everything all talks to itself, so that's a really, really good start. This second port on the battery, it is your charging port. And I will add one thing to the video that you don't get with this kit that I'd highly recommend. And that is, go and get yourself one of these high-powered USB-C chargers. So this is a 100-watt charger, and this will really, really quickly charge up these battery packs as opposed to using a normal USB charger. You can also get 65-watt ones. Kings also sell these chargers as well, and these are fantastic for charging not only these batteries, but also your battery banks that you get. So I've got a King's 12 amp hour battery, and while it charges reasonably quick on a decent USB-C charger, this makes a huge difference for topping it up, particularly if you're actually charging from a power station on the go. It'll make it a lot quicker to charge this particular battery up so that you can keep using it day in, day out, especially while you're camping and stuff like that. You've got these weatherproof covers that go on, and given that it's IP68 rated, I think that's quite good. Now, this weighs just over a kilo, being the B2 battery. So both of these together, pretty much the whole kit, is just over 2 kilos. So I'm going to say it's probably 2.5 kilos by the time you put it on, which is significantly lighter than the trolling motor I've got on my kayak at the moment and the battery that I use to power that. So this is a real compact, lightweight setup. And while the motor itself is probably a lot lighter than the trolling motor I've got on the kayak, you have to remember this is a new technology brushless motor. It's going to be more efficient. The whole combo is lighter. So I'm actually really keen to see how this will go. And that takes me on to the budget for this. Now, they're not incredibly cheap, but neither is a trolling motor and a full battery setup. This package retails for about $560 US. So if you actually work that out in Australian dollars, it's sitting around about $850 to $900, plus obviously you've got the freight that goes on top of that. Now, I'll put a link in the description below for a discount code that you can actually use to get 10% off the purchase from Edge Smart Drive themselves. You can also look on AliExpress and you will find this product available on there with all the different batteries and stuff like that. But I have found the price is a little bit more expensive. But buying direct from Edge Smart Drive does seem to be the most economical way to go. And that way they've got a record that you've bought it. I think it'd be a lot easier with warranty and all that sort of thing. But definitely use that 10% discount code because I think that will make a fairly big difference to the purchase price and getting it shipped over to Australia. So this B2 battery, as I mentioned before, is actually 199 watt hours, and it is a 22.2 volt battery. They do say in eco mode, you can get around about 2.5 hours use from it. And then if you're using it in fast mode, this will last for around about half an hour. The one other thing, other than charging it, you do need to work out a way of tying this down. So we'll go through that in the rest of the video, but I'm really keen to get this out of the water, try it out. But firstly, there's a little bit of assembly required. So the first step to the assembly process is we need to install the prop guard. So it simply goes on, and then there's 5 little Allen screws that actually go in to fix this all into place. Make sure they're all nice and tight, and then we're ready to put the prop on. Now, when it comes to the shaft that's coming out of the motor, you'll note there's a little pin. You want to have that nice and even. And then on the back of the propeller, you'll note there's a little keyway that locks the propeller onto the shaft itself. So we simply plop it on. Then there's the bushing that we put in, and you'll know one end is tapered. That needs to go on the outside. And that's so that you can secure the little tapered Allen screw onto the end of the prop shaft itself. Tighten it up, and we are all ready to go. But firstly, let's plug it in, do a bit of a bench test, make sure it's all okay before we head out and have a bit of fun. Because as you saw in our kayak video, the boys wanted me to buy another kayak and a trolling motor, so this pretty much ticks that box and solves that problem. A few people in that video also suggested I try out one of these. So here we go. We'll give it a whirl and see how it goes. So if we just quickly get our battery, we'll open our green cover, plug it in, And you'll see that it does a little test, which shows that it does have power going to it. Now I'll turn on our remote using the on and off button. And I don't know if you'll be able to see on the screen, but it does show you RPM. So you can actually monitor the RPM that your engine's doing, plus your speed. It's got a little bit of telemetrics on it, which I think is actually quite cool. But I think for most of us, we'll be just going out there using it. And I'll show you how easy it is. So we can steer it using the little toggle here. So you just turn it and then forward, reverse, and then you can obviously change it from eco to sport mode as well. It's pretty much ready to go. So let's get outside and have some fun. Now the beauty of this is it simply clips into the bottom shoe on the bottom of any stand-up paddleboard. And if you've got a kayak, you've got that as well. Now I've retrofitted one onto my kayak and we'll test that later on in the video. But it simply just slots in like you would with any fin. And then you lock it into place. Now it's just a case of flipping the paddleboard over and plugging in the battery. Now if I was to make one observation regarding these batteries, it'd be great if there was a little hook so you could tether these on to the top side of your paddleboard so that they're more secure. Noting that the cable's going to attach it onto the motor itself. If you do flip over and it falls off, then it's going to keep it all together. But one thing I have done to just preempt that is I've gone and bought a few of these mesh bags. Now I'll put a link in the description. These just came from Amazon. And I'll put a little stainless steel clip in through the cord, so the tether cord, so we can put the battery inside. It's an open mesh so it can breathe. You can then secure it up. And now with this little tether hook, we can actually clip it on to the top side of the paddleboard. It's all nice and secure and it just gives me that little bit of peace of mind. So as I showed you in the shed just before, green goes to green, so you simply just plug it in. It will do a little test, so it's better if you have it up off the ground. And then in my case, I'm actually going to do up this little mesh bag, and then we just clip it in. But one thing I'm going to do, noting we've got this little box, which I want to have on top, is I'm actually going to put the clip through the cord, and then clip that onto the board itself. And that'll make sure that the cord's not hanging down too far, and that it might get caught on a snag or something like that. Now we're ready to go, so let's go on the water and I'll show you how fun this really is. Now apologies with the audio on this video. We're just out having a fun day out. We've actually used this a few times now and I've been really impressed by how well it works. Now the battery life, in reality, don't expect much more than an hour. Probably really about 40 minutes is where we're sitting at. But it's a really fun, quiet way of getting out and exploring the waterways wherever you are. Even if it's a little bit windy, and there's a bit of swell about, because you can just kneel up on the paddleboard like this, it actually makes it quite nimble and fun to do. I don't think I'd stand up when it's really choppy, but so far I've been having a really cool time. And then the boys can actually use the kayak, like what they wanted to when we were up at Yamba. So this little remote here turns a stand-up paddleboard into a real fun little toy. You can really easily turn, just like that. And while I'm not going to dare standing up and record at the same time, Zach's been able to get up and stand, and it's a lot of fun. And the advantage of being able to put this on a stand-up paddleboard is that it's super compact. You can just deflate it, put it in the back of your car, and you don't have to worry about strapping anything down onto your roof, into a trailer or anything like that. So there's a lot of pros that go with this. You just got to be conscious of the battery life. And the cool thing is, we're still tracking along at 8 kilometers an hour. So it's not necessarily slow, but obviously the kayak's going to be a little bit more stable in rough conditions and stuff like that. Oh, the kayak's getting me today. When we were out at Malabula the other day, this was pretty much keeping up, if not going a little bit faster than the kayak itself. So we're down to 50% battery now, and I think I've actually got some weed around the propeller, so I probably should stop and check that. So we're actually out at Pelican in Lake Macquarie. I've been trying to go out to Port Stephens to do this, but it's been way too windy. It's a nice still day here, and I'm trying to see how easy it is to actually stand up on this stand-up paddleboard using the remote and the motor. The one thing I'll note is that it's a little bit fast and forward, so you've got to really have your balance. And you see Zach here, he's having a good old go. See if you can go past Zach. And while that's a little bit of a challenge, I think it's fine, really. It actually makes it pretty fun to get out there, see if you can get going, and particularly when it's a nice still day like what we've got now, it's actually working out really, really well. However, in reality, just sitting on the board or even up on your knees like what Zach's doing here, it works just as well. And it means that pretty much anyone can use it, no matter their age. As long as they're confident in water, you can easily just explore and have a little bit of fun on this board, which is what it's all about. Now, while we come in and reset, because I want to send the drone out and get a few drone shots, seeing as it's nice and still here, the one thing I will add with this is that if I was buying this full combo kit, I'd actually buy an extra battery. So we've been out for probably about 40 minutes now, and we're down to 30% battery. So in our case, I can actually take it back to the car and we can charge the battery up using our power station. But if you're out and about and you didn't have access to power to be able to charge it up, while you can do it from a 12-volt battery bank or something like that, it would be a lot easier just to have another battery on charge. You quickly swap them over and that would make it much better when the kids are out and about. And given we're heading into the summer months, this is a great little Christmas addition to put into your little stocking list. It's a little bit expensive, but I think they'll get a lot of entertainment out of it. I've got my kayak. I think I'll actually be using this a little bit as well. And I do actually want to try it out on the kayak if we've got a little bit of power left. Now the challenge with these is actually standing up. But as you can see here, Zach's doing it pretty well. I'm not that coordinated, but it is so much fun. It's getting out here on the water. And again, the flatter it is, the better it's going to be. So what are my thoughts about the K4 from Energy Smart Drive? I actually really love it. It is a great complement to the trolling motor we got in our kayak, but best of all, it simply clips on and you don't have to go through all the DIY process that we did on the kayak itself. Yes, it's a little bit expensive, but by the time you actually wrap in buying a trolling motor, the battery and everything like that, it's going to be more than the outlay you have for something like this. And the fact that you can actually just slide it onto a stand-up paddleboard, I think is really, really good. Doesn't take up much room, especially when you've got an inflatable stand-up paddleboard like this. And best of all, the kids can have a lot of fun on it because it's got this remote control. It makes it a great, easy to use product that you don't have to worry about steering or anything like that. You just go forwards, reverse, you can steer, you can watch all the gauges if you want, but you just get out there, explore and have fun where you're out and about, camping, or even with me, what I'm doing this afternoon, I'm just out by myself for the afternoon, having a bit of fun. But it's just so handy being able to carry around a compact little stand-up paddleboard. You can take the motor with you, and for example today I'm in the work van, I'm filming a few little extras for the video. I can just chuck this in the back with all my tools and stuff like that, and I don't have to worry about strapping down a kayak or anything like that. It's nice, compact, and you can pretty much take it anywhere. And I think that's the beauty of combining these two things. You've got a real good way of getting about and exploring nice and quietly without having to paddle, and really, as I've been saying all through the video, it's great fun. Now, if I was to note a negative about this, it would be the battery life. However, that's all dependent on the size of the battery you buy. And as I just said earlier, I would highly recommend you buy 2 batteries. It gives a lot more flexibility in how you can use this product. But all in all, it's really hard to say something bad about it because it just works so incredibly well. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to take a rain check with the kayak. When we were out the other day, my version 2 of the kayak mount failed. But the few minutes that I got to experience it, I think this will work really, really well on the kayak. I've just got to sort out the mounting hardware for it. The first attempt, I was actually using the transducer mount that's on the underside of the kayak. I made this little mount for it and actually secured on really, really well. Wasn't going anywhere, but the problem was because it was located more towards the front of the kayak, it was really, really hard to steer. It was probably worse than having the trolling motor off onto the side. So I went on to plan B, which was actually fitting up one of these box mounts onto the underside. I used the best epoxy that I could find that was recommended, but because it's a plastic kayak, it's really hard to get them to bond. I also bought a larger sort of rubberized one, but it was too hard to mold on to the actual underside of the kayak itself. So what I'm actually going to do is actually make a mount that goes onto the back where I've actually got my trolling motor mounted on. We'll run a pole down that we can actually mount the bottom motor onto, have it all fixed into place so it can steer itself, and I think that will work really, really well. So stay tuned for that, because I also want to play around with actually running 12 volt through this motor so I can run a larger battery and I don't have to worry about charging while we're on the go out and about so much as well. So I'll come back with another video down the track on how all that's going, and also an update on how this is performing. The one thing I'll say is you do need to be careful if you're going through reeds and stuff like that they don't get all tangled up in there, but that's the same as any motor on the back of a boat, a trolling motor or anything like that. But once you notice that you're slowing down a little bit, like what I had when I was trying to do some speed tests with Zach in the kayak over at Pelican, it slowed it down quite a bit. So I just stopped, pulled out the weeds, and then we're ready to go again. The only thing that happened was the camera that you're watching this on is a replacement. I actually killed that on that day. It fell into a little bit of water that was lying at the bottom of the kayak. So I've got the replacement here, and I'm just out here out at Tanilba Bay filming a little bit of B-roll to finish off the video and give a few other clips to show how it goes in the water and stuff like that. But anyway, as you can see, the tide's gone way out. It's getting a little bit windy, so I better get in and get these extra shots that I need. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yes, it's sponsored content, but for me, I actually only say yes to products that I really want to test out and that I think I'll actually use myself, and I think that would benefit the viewers of our channel. So if you're interested, I'll actually have, hopefully, a little discount code down below, and I'll put a few links in below about how you go about buying the product. You can buy it from AliExpress, like I said at the start, but I think it's much better to go through their actual website. But anyway, I'm going to wrap things up here. I've got to get out there, get that extra little bit of footage. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. We've got a heap of content coming along. I've got something else I'm testing out as well. And more importantly, put a few comments down below on what you think about putting a little electric motor on the back of a stand-up paddleboard or even a kayak, like what we've done previously, and I will have that update coming in the very near future. So anyway, I thank you all for watching, and as I always say, get out there, stay safe, have fun, and we'll catch you next time.